Hi everyone, this is our first recording. Now, as a wrap up, first of all, I'm assuming people have already completed tutorial 1 titled File Management. In this tutorial, we looked at how to create a new Microsoft Word document by going into the Start command. We also looked at how to save and how to also use the Save As function, which is when you want to rename a document, giving it an individual name. We also briefly looked at how to use the ribbon, which is the top part of the screen, whereby you can modify your document, edit it, you can use different font types, sizes. So we had a brief look at this part of the screen, which is called the ribbon. We also briefly looked at how to use the file management system, which we're going to cover in more detail in later tutorials. Now, as a brief, in this tutorial 2, we're going to be looking at how to type a document or type inside a document. We're going to be looking at a quite important feature, which is copying and pasting, which is simply copying information and pasting it elsewhere. We're going to be also looking at how to use the ribbon part of our document as well, which is this bottom part of our Word document. So I'll ask people now to create a new Word document or open up a pre-existing Word document, and we're going to be looking at how to copy and paste information. So what we'll do first is we'll type out some information whereby we're going to practice this function. So I want you to type out the following. You will want to copy me. One of me is all you need. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to copy this information. So how to do that? There's two ways. First things first, we will highlight this information that we've typed out. We go to the Home tab, which is over here, and we click on Copy. Now that will essentially copy this information. From here, we can now paste it. So for example, if I go to the next line here, and I click on this icon, it will then paste that information over here. Now that's one way of doing it. Now, the other way of doing it, okay, is I'm just going to type out trial here. If I copy this word and I hit Control C on my keypad, I can then go to the next line and this time hit Control V. So essentially what I'm doing is holding those buttons down at the same time. It will paste it to the next line. So once again, just to reiterate that, you have to highlight, hold down your Control button, and at the same time, whilst you've held down the Control button, hit the C button, which copies, and the Control V button enables you to paste. So I want you to practice that function. It's actually quite a very, very widely used function. You can type out more information as you please and simply copy and paste that within the document, just as a practice. The next function we're going to be looking at is cutting and pasting. So what this is used for is if, for example, I've typed out that first line, I'm going to delete this information. Let's just assume here that I've copied this information out and I don't want it here, I want it in a separate part of my document. Right? Now, what I'll do is I'll highlight it again, but in this time I will go to cut, and what that does is automatically it will copy that information and then remove it from that location by cutting it, and then I can go down the middle of the page and then I can hit paste, and what that will do is it will cut it from where it was initially and paste it to another position in the document. So that's what we call cutting and pasting. Okay? So once again, follow the exercise and practice that function of cutting and pasting. Next, we're going to be looking at typing, backspacing, and deleting information. So as per the exercise, it's asking us to type out the following information. Joe has a very large house. We will highlight the word house and then hit backspace on our keypad. What that does is it automatically deletes the word house. This time around we're going to type in boat. What we'll practice now is how to delete the word boat. So once again, you can highlight it and backspace it, or you can hit backspace. Now, we will now look at the Enter key. The Enter key is used to start a new line. So let's assume here that we've typed out a line and we want to move to the next line. We will hit the Enter key on your keypad, which will bring you down to the next line. So in this exercise, I want people to practice typing out that information and practice hitting the Enter key to start a new line. Next function we'll look at is undo and redo. So undo and redo, where this is used. Let's assume you've typed out a document and you have made a mistake and you want to go back to where you started prior to where you made the mistake, you would use the undo button. Now, let's assume here that then you realize that, hold on, I didn't make a mistake. You can then hit the redo button to reverse what you just did. So for example, I've typed out Joe has a very large house. Let's just write here, Mary has a very large house also. If we hit this button, which is called undo typing, top of your screen, it will undo exactly what I did, type. And if I hit this button, which is a redo, you'll see here, it will bring back what we just typed earlier. So once again, undo removes and redo puts back what we had just typed. And you can hit that undo button as many times as you want, and you can see that it will give you all the information that you typed in reverse. So what I want people to do is work through that function, practice the undo, redo function. Next we'll look at using spell check. Now what I want people to do as they're working through or as they're listening to me on this video, you should be able to pause the video as you work through this so that you can practice the functions and then continue watching. The next thing we'll look at is spell check. So the importance of using a word processor, or the important functionality, is that if you make a mistake, let's type out a word and make a purpose. I've misspelt this purposefully. It's meant to be ran wild. Now, as you can see here, it has highlighted, or it has underlined it in red, saying that it's picked up an error. It's picked up a possible spelling mistake. In order to fix this up, let's assume that you type that document and there's a number of words here with spelling mistakes. You can highlight the information that you've typed out, then go to Review, find your spelling and grammar check, and it will then give you options. So it automatically is suggesting to us other words that it possibly may be. So as I mentioned, I had intended it to be ran, so I click on that word and hit change. And it's giving us the option of continuing with the spell check or ending it. So that's how you use the spell check button to check your grammar as well as your spelling. Now if you make a grammar error, let's assume here that we've typed the document and we have made a grammar error. As you can see here, it's been highlighted blue, or underlined blue, sorry, rather than red, meaning that it could be a possible grammar. So if I once again highlight that, go to Review and go to Spelling and Grammar, it's telling me that in this sentence there's no need to have a capital. So I can do one of two things. If I had purposely wanted it that way, I could have ignored that, or I can click change and it will bring it back to, or bring it to, a more correctly positioned grammar. Next we're going to be looking at find and replace. Now, find and replace is actually quite another important tool. Let's assume here that you have typed out a large document and you want to reuse that document once again, but this time round you wanted, for example, someone else's name to be replaced in that document. Let's assume here that you've typed out a document, a reference document for an employee, and another employee also wants a similar document, but this time around, instead of having that document attention to one employee, you want to have it to the second employee, and you want to change, or you want the document to find and replace the name. So let's assume here that we have a document dated today, and so forth. There's our letter, and what we want to do is we want to, instead of having to retype this whole document out, this is just a quick example of how this could be used. We want to use this find and replace function to find the name Jack Smith and replace it with another name. So what we would do, first of all, always go to your home function here, or sorry, the home key, and we want to click on find and replace. Okay, so we've got find here and find and replace here. So we are looking for Jack Smith, and we want to replace it with Kelly Jones. Now what we can do is we can replace those names one by one, or we can do it in one keystroke. So we'll try both. So we'll hit replace for now, and it's highlighted the name which it's found, and then it's asking us as to whether we want to replace it. Yes. And it's also found another similar name, and once again it's asking us whether we should replace it by hitting replace. It now finds those two names and replaces it with Kelly Smith. Okay, so just to go over the other circumstance or the other option of replacing in one keystroke, we now undo, which we learned earlier. Undo the other one as well. And then we go to find and replace. We want to find the name Jack Smith, replace it. Let's come up with a different name this time round. And we want to replace all. So it has found two replacements and it's asking us as to whether we want to continue with the search. We hit yes, you'll find that it will automatically replace those two words, and we can now click on OK and close that. So that's essentially how you can use the find and use replace function in Microsoft Word. Now what I would like you to do is practice the exercises and practice that functionality. Lastly, we'll look at symbols. Now, Microsoft Word provides you with a number of symbols that you can use throughout your documents. To locate the symbols, we will once again go to the home part of our document and we go to insert over here. And we want to insert symbols. Here we go. Far right hand side, symbols. We drop down, more symbols. I'm just having a quick look at the range it's provided. Now each computer might be a little bit different here. You may have more symbols, different types of symbols and so forth, different computers. But yeah, so here we've got different letters, different languages that you have different, I think that's Greek possibly. So for argument's sake, let's choose the R for registered symbol. Click on that and hit insert. It will automatically insert that symbol into our text document. And that's quite small, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to home and I'm going to try to make that a little bit bigger by increasing the size. So that shows you how to insert symbols. So once again, what I'd like you to do is practice identifying, locating some different symbols and practice inserting those symbols into your document. Now practice makes perfect here. So what I would like you to do is be creative, choose a few different circumstances, create documents, practice typing and modifying your Word document as you go. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in the next tutorial 3, which will be formatting.